Welcome to the Walk With Me podcast. I am your good brother, second son. That's second with a K. S-U-N. Because I am Carolyn's second son. We inside the press box. You gotta treat this like they do at the Apollo. You know what I mean? Come in and straight and go on and, you know what I mean, bless, get your blessing. You know what I'm talking about? From the wild. We inside the press box. Y'all see that. You see what I'm saying? And this be my good brother. What that guy?
It's Frank's son, and that's S-U-N.
And we be the Son Brothers.
Yes, sir. That way, in that order.
Inside the press box. You understand me? F-R-A-N-K.
Because I am Frank's son. That's how this shit makes sense, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's good to be back, my brother.
Good to be back,
man.
You know what I'm saying?
Back in the kitchen, back cooking it up.
Whipping it up, back. You know what I'm saying? Christ conspiracy.
Yeah, it's been by the witches. We've been in the lab.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yes,
So
yes,
it's about
yes.
that time,
Yeah,
man.
about that time to unwind. You see? And the last time, we really just, we didn't have anything specific that we just really had to try to touch on. We went right on in, dug on in.
Yeah,
and that's
we
really,
did. We
you know what I'm
did.
saying? Just with a little bit of, you know, I feel like a little song in my, you know what I'm saying?
Come on now.
I'm just feeling
Come
one
on
in
now.
my spirit.
Come
today,
on
just
now.
because, you know what I'm saying? I'm feeling it. And it was a little, you know, one of them tunes that we were saying, peace be upon Bishop Walter B. Houston Sr. Love lifted me. This is one of his. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. Oh, love, 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 love. L-O-V-E lifted me. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted.
Sing, brother. Sing, brother.
Me. You know what I'm saying?
Come on,
I felt that one in my spirit, family. You understand me? I felt that one in my spirit today. Like I say, peace be upon one of my, I'm going to say one of my spiritual fathers, Walter B. Houston Sr. over there in the Rose City. You see, the pastor and founder of the Houston Temple Church of God in Christ. You see? And my mind went back to that because that's one of his favorite, you know what I mean? We come in, you know what I'm talking about? We coming in out of Sunday school, you dig? And it's time for the you know, the main service.
Yeah.
And that be one that he crank up. You understand me? And he also called your brother to the microphone for the first time. I was probably about 7, 8 years old. You know what I mean? Second grade, third grade-ish up in there. To sing my first solo.
Wow.
Right there at that location, right there in the Rose City. You know what I mean? Sure did. Yeah, peace to the God.
Man, well, you know, just so happened that this in particular book that we are reading is entitled The Christ Conspiracy, but we'll just focus in on Christ. And when you think about Christ, we're going to think about the church.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like I always say, man, when I think about the church, it's going to be some good preaching going on, you know what I'm saying, in there every now and again.
Yes.
But that song,
Yes.
that song is going to move.
That hymn. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's something about that song. And then, of course, you know, the lyrics, obviously.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But, you know, when you get into the music side of it, because music, we got to know, is one of the 7 liberal arts.
Mhm.
So there's no way around the effects of music and that it has on the human body, the human mind, etc. Because like you're saying, we can hear certain songs, man, that maybe your favorite uncle or your favorite auntie or your, you know what I mean? That was their song, and when you hear it, you understand me? Send that, you know what I mean, that old time religion feeling back down through you. So you show it right
your whole spirit just lifted up.
Yeah. Or, vice versa. It's possible for us to, go into that sad moment, you know what I mean? Or emotional moment or whatever, because of whatever reasons that the song, that memory that the song brings. But for the most part, yes. When we talking about just the name Jesus and Christ, of course we automatically think church. There ain't no other way around it. You understand? And that was our initial introduction to this name. Not this human being, but this name. Because Walmart is a name. McDonald's is a name. Right? Nike is a name, but not persons, not peoples. You see? And we know that every name that are just named has power. Without being a person. Ooh, walk with me.
Walk with it, man.
Walk
with us. We talking symbolism.
You see? Symbolism. That's what we talking.
When you think about Walmart, you think about that blue. Think about McDonald's, you instantly see those golden oranges.
Come on. In your mind.
Nike, you see the check.
Yes, automatic.
And same thing applies with Jesus.
That's right. Or like we were speaking on off camera the last time we spoke about your favorite character in your favorite episode, in your favorite movie, or your favorite sitcom, etc. That character, remember we talked about that, has the ability to buy you in, if you will. You'll be sold on the character that person plays, to where it's possible that when you see that human being, that person that plays that character, you might possibly, if you have an issue with them, you see, you won't even like the human being. You see,
in real life.
In real life, for playing a character.
Not the character, but the actor.
Not the character, but the actor. See, the power of symbology and imagery. That's all we saying here.
I'm gonna tell you, I know it's real because y'all seen Higher Learning.
Yeah.
Man,
Run
I ain't like Remy since that movie. I knew right then he played that character too. I didn't like him no more in real life. And to this day, man, he still should stay the fuck out of black folks' business, man. What's his real name?
Michael
Rappaport.
Yeah.
He stay out of black folks' business, man. Y'all let him come to the picnic.
Yeah,
he can't come to the picnic, man.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay. I just had to say that's how real
I
what
definitely,
I'm saying.
I second that with a K. You understand? Because I felt the same way about Remy in Higher Learning. And of course, that's a prime example though. You know what I mean? That happens. We talking about you not liking one, and then on the other end, of course, you just, you know what I mean, so in love with this character to where when that character gets sick or is murdered, etc., if that's in the plot, you go on an emotional, ride with your favorite character being quote unquote dead. You see? And why is this important? Because that shouldn't, you should have enough discernment, you see, if you will. Discernment meaning I'm supposed to know that this is just a movie or this is just a TV show, and I shouldn't tie my emotional self, my spirit man up in it emotionally. Because why? The compromising of my organs is coming. You remember? 12 hours a man. You see? So therefore, I'm going to lose some power somewhere. We got to know that, family. You know what I mean? It's what we call sacred geometry, supreme mathematics. You know what I mean? It's important to know thyself so you can operate in self and not in characters. You see? Walk with me.
speaking of characters, man, right back to where we at, the Christ conspiracy. Oh, be sure to go subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Press Box.
The Press Box.
Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Second Son. Watch the videos, leave some comments, share it. You know what I'm saying? That share button don't cost a thing.
And go a long way.
It really does, man. We're starting to find that out. We'll talk more about that as we progress.
Oh, that's right.
Things are really moving forward with this Walk With Me Press Box. This whole thing, man.
Absolutely.
And right now, this is what we call an ERB. I Read Books, a virtual book club where we have working on our third book. As you all know, if you've been with us for a minute, if not, now we're on the Christ conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a reading that we delving off into, man, to try to find some truth, man, and bring some order to the chaos which our people have been in. We know at least for 400 years, and
At least,
you know, a lot of times, man, we didn't have a scholarship, or we didn't have the time to dedicate to the scholarship to get to the bottom of things the way we get to the bottom of things right now. So, you know, that's where we at with it.
Trying to see how far the rabbit hole go.
Boy,
Red pill.
They said once you go in, there ain't no coming back out.
Ain't no man. I'm a living witness. Cause we didn't. Hey, listen. Let's start digging in there like that old Doug well that the Williams brothers was talking about.
And you know,
So
once you go down the rabbit hole and you see some shit or you learn some shit, you can't unlearn. You know, truth. You can run from the truth, but you can't say that I have been told truth and now I don't know truth. You can forget about the truth, but you know. And so, you know, even if you do come into a certain truth, maybe it's not a fact. Maybe it changes as you grow in your knowledge or your understanding. So a lot of times while we are here now, because we have been stuck with just one way of thinking.
yes.
And we have blocked and put our blinders on where we reject truth or we reject anything that sounds foreign to what we have been taught.
And that's programming. That what he just
Exactly
described.
what it is.
That's programming. To where you put yourself in a box and you close it. You see, to where like he's saying, you basically are refusing to know. And then you get into a vibration of ignorance, of course, because ignorance is not knowing. And it's important as we grow and evolve as a human being, period. Even as we can always relate this thing to the as above, so below, you see concept. And what we mean by that is a child is born and goes through stages of 7. You see, from the time that child is born and the child is 7, that child has already learned different disciplines as it relates to humanity. You see, you eventually in mama's arms to walking on your own, using the bathroom by yourself, brushing your own teeth, etc. You see, and these stages on a spirit realm as above should be going on as well. You see, and all we saying here is that when we say that means that there's no limit. You're constantly going into another stage, or supposed to be, or should be, of learning something new, brand new. Always make it. What did the scriptures say? The renewing of the mind is how the transformation takes on. You see, so if the mind is renewing, that means you're learning something new. You're learning. There's different, again, disciplines to these different stages of life. It's 7 of them. 7 times 7 is 49. That's 7 stages. So that means what the people say, you're over the hill when you turn 50. You see? So that stage presents the reintroduction of lessons that you should be passing now at the age of 50. You see? Now that you're going back over the 7 cycles again. You see, you start in the first cycle at 49. Actually, you hit that lick. You see what I'm saying?
Even before we get to the 49, we go 7 times 4, 28. That's your Saturn return.
Come on.
So that's 7. We can't get around it.
Come
you know,
on.
it's 7. What do you call them? Orifices in our body, or 7 holes.
Yes.
Like that's 7, man.
Yes.
In supreme mathematics, that's God. So
that's God. And it's important that, like the good brother saying, that one does not cut themselves off of being able to know, because the whole purpose of knowing is to know and do better. That's the whole key.
y'all know the saying, if you knew better, you do better.
It's that simple. It's that simple. And we know that Sunday school and the interpretation of Jesus and the characters, the allegorical characters in the Bible, that we were trained on that. And we were trained to believe a lot of stuff that's related to that. Now, like the good brother is saying, we're deep in the Aquarian age now. You see, it's 2020, clear vision. It's time to clear your vision up, so you can see better and do better. That's the key. There's no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes around it. You see, and we know, as it relates to the results, it's been slipping somewhere as it relates to Sunday school and what we got, the interpretation of what we got in Sunday school and how it relates to our everyday lives. Because we have been taught one thing in there, but living another outside, collectively, because we're talking about poverty. You see, poverty is our main theme here. Generational poverty. You see? And it doesn't make sense to fall victim and what the man say, we fall down but we get up. You know what I mean? Fall and never try to attempt to get back up. You see what I'm saying? Just lay there in recycled generational poverty. That's unfair to the babies, man. They out the gate got to worry about utilities. You know what I'm saying? That's supposed to be automatic when you living like the Holy Scripts, plural, has taught us. Because they all have taught us one thing, and that's man, know thyself, and to thine own self be true. Not to no organization. You see? That's the key. And again, the keys, you got to get them yourself. You don't, as we can see, you know what I mean? Or we'll be continually recycling this whole poverty mindset. Like somewhere by and by, pie in the sky. That, you know what we're talking about, that type. No, you were born to get it right here on the earth planet. Because you were born. You was given that opportunity to live it. So you definitely was born to live as a God now. But now, of course, we already know that there's choices that have to be made. You see? You don't just automatically just jump into this royalty form of a lifestyle and you don't put no work in. See? Now that's a devil. You thinking like a demon. Like getting something for nothing. And that's not what we're talking about here.
You spitting.
You know what I mean?
You spitting.
That's all we're saying. And again, these lessons that we're presenting here inside the press box. Walk With Me podcast. Hashtag ERB. I read books. It's not for show. You see? This is not for show. This is not a intellectual masturbating session. And it is not a converting session. Nobody's here to convert anyone.
Thank you.
To think like we think.
No.
Or do it like we do it or live like we live. That's not what this is about at all. This platform is specifically about two brothers that has gotten together divinely on one accord, and that's to assist fallen humanity in their upliftment. That's it, and that's it only. That's it. There's nothing that, nobody, again, is trying to get no one to
Yeah, sugar son, you're right. Yeah, Frank son, you're right. Yeah, everything you say. Yeah, you.
And nobody's looking for that because we already know who we are. Now that might sound egotistical or whatever, arrogant or whatever, but we got to put that on the record. That's a disclaimer here. You see that we know who we are, so therefore it's easy for us to sit here and disseminate and do what we were born to do.
Hey man, we read books, man.
Period. And we do it in honor of our ancestors. A large number of our ancestors could not get the opportunity to freely educate themselves. Self-education here we talking about. This is a autodidact platform here. Self-taught. You see, the brothers. And that ain't no cap, like the youngsters say, but that's what it is. Specifically divinely led. Each piece of literature. And of course, each piece of literature is a driving force to our true liberation.
Your freedom.
And we feel it.
It's a presentation of just the research that we've done. And we feel at this point obligated and figured out the way to share it, in a fashion that, like I said, we're not trying to convert you.
At all.
We're not trying to beat you over the head with the facts.
At all.
But we will bash you in your head with these facts
With
and
the
these truths.
That's it.
Because you have your own opportunity to join us in reading. You have the opportunity to bring us a piece of literature that you want us to explore, and we'll do things like that.
In the comment
Actually, when we read, this book is Christ Conspiracy. When we're reading, I'm not just reading to say that this book is right and exact. I'm reading to find falsehood in it.
Right.
I'm trying to find a way to maybe this ain't
to
true.
make it be right.
So I won't be one-sided in my
Question
approach.
everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I say,
everything.
you have the ability to do the same reading, and open up your own mind, because what we say is we're not just coming with opinions. Like I say again, we're coming with like our first chapter on the day. When we're going into the Christ Conspiracy. What chapter is this, brother?
5.
5.
Non-biblical sources.
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
Non-biblical sources. What does that mean exactly? Because you can't use the Bible to prove the Bible truth. You have to use other sources of information, at least to go and cross-reference what you read in the Bible. Because if you only read one book, then you know no book. So inside of this chapter of non-biblical sources, is providing us with literature, writings, authors that were outside of the Bible and what they had to say during the time in which the Bible was supposed to have been taking place. That's what we have. We just want to make sure y'all understand what we're coming at with this first chapter we're reading today.
Non-biblical sources. Now I wanted to add to that real quick when you say it's important that you cross-reference with different sources, etc. When the cross-referencing numbers start to add up, you see, that's when you can run or you could deny, if you will, you see, but that's what we're here for, again, to make them numbers start to add up. You see what I'm saying? Because again, we've already been into the rabbit hole far enough to know that the numbers add up to this whole allegorical theme as it relates to Jesus the Christ.
We got it on a scale.
There's power in it now.
If we weigh this up on a scale, one is truth and one is falsehood, or one is historical and one is mythological, eventually one of these is gonna outweigh the other.
Yes, sir.
And so this is how we prove through our reading and research and knowledge.
That's it.
Again, this is not an emotional breakdown of this book.
Not at all. Not at all. No emotions involved at all. Only the spirit of research. You see, in the spirit of knowing But we want to know.
And a spirit of understanding.
Come on.
You can read shit all you want to and have
You know,
no understanding.
come on. Comprehension. Yes, sir. Yeah, because you have those that will run through a book and just to say I read it, but didn't comprehend.
And even in that, you can read something and have no understanding because you are veiled. Your understanding is veiled. You have a veil over your eyes that prevents you to see the deeper meaning. They say the Christ figure spoke in parables. Well, if you don't understand what he's saying, then it's just a story. But if you can understand what the meaning of it is, then the story means a totally different thing once your eyes have been opened or the veil has been removed. We're just coming to simplify the removal of the veil so that you can see what we see, and you still may not, and that's only because you have a set of blinders on that you refuse to even take off or even entertain anything other than what's been passed down to you or what you've been programmed with.
Come on now. Come on now.
Now this first sentence of this chapter right here it may lose some of y'all. I'm gonna go with this first sentence, brother.
The very first.
We have seen that the gospel accounts are utterly unreliable as history, and as history cannot serve as evidence that Jesus Christ ever existed.
Ever existed.
Now we shall examine if there are any non-biblical, non-partisan records by historians during the alleged time of the astonishing events, to wit, a virgin-born Son of God who was famed widely as a great teacher and wonder worker, miraculously healing and feeding multitudes, walking on water, raising the dead, who was transfigured on the mountain to a shining sun, whose crucifixion was accompanied by great earthquakes, the darkening of the sun, and the raising from their graves of numerous saints, and who himself was resurrected from the dead.
Transfigured on a mount into a shining sun. Transfigured on a mount into a shining sun. Now let me help you real quick with that one, just real quick before we go on. Transfigured on a mount, that mount is your brain. You remember? We talking about the pineal, Mount Pineal. You see? Into a shining sun, because the sun, Jesus, is a representation of the third eye. That's the Son of God. The pineal is God. You see? Now we saying that real quick so we can go ahead and just give you a precursor. You see? To kind of strap yourself up. You know, strap yourself, your boots on and everything, so we can take this metaphysical ride. Okay? Because we got to know that at the end of the lesson, it's about to S-U-N.
Come on now.
Huh? Walk with me.
We're going to get there. So what they're saying so far is they got all these miraculous events.
Yes.
That
fed multitudes.
Yeah, by one man at a certain time period. And we're just going to go on what the historians said.
Yeah.
What that means is the people who were actually alive and were writing at that time, this is what they were saying about this.
Eusebius?
Go ahead.
That's where you at? Eusebius, right there?
Because of his power to work miracles, the divinity of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ became in every land the subject of excited talk and attracted a vast number of people in foreign lands very remote from Judea. Surely, these extraordinary events known far and wide were recorded by one or more competent historians of the time. As noted, the centuries surrounding the beginning of the Christian era, the periods of Tiberius and Augustus, were in fact some of the best documented in history, as admitted by the Christian apologists. For example, the Roman historian under Augustus living. This is 59 BCE 17 CE, alone composed 142 volumes, over 100 of which were subsequently destroyed by the conspirators to cover their tracks.
So that was basically all the volumes. Now understand, family, we know when they say 142 volumes, we're talking about writings. You see? Because, you know, you got to have the law written down since humanity existed.
Of course, the form of writing it down changed, but we got to know that 142 volumes, 100 of them were destroyed.
Why?
The next, go ahead.
Despite this fact, however,
There are basically no non-biblical references to a historical Jesus
by any known historian of the time during and after Jesus' purported advent. As Walker says, no literate person of his own time mentioned him in any known writing. You get that, family? No literate person. That means somebody that one of the writers that had the ability to write. Come on now, Moon and Gemini, Libra season. You see, the literate person. You see, somebody that could write in the quote unquote Jesus' time never wrote anything about it.
That's wild in itself.
Come on now. Eminent Hellenistic Jewish historian and philosopher Philo, 20 BCE to 50 CE, alive at the purported time of Jesus, was silent on the subject of the great Jewish miracle maker and rabble-rouser who brought down the wrath of Rome and Judea. Nor are Jesus and his followers mentioned by any of the some 40 other historians, wow, that's a major number, who wrote during the first and second centuries of the Common Era, including Plutarch, the Roman biographer, who lived at the same time and in the same place where the Christians were purportedly swarming, yet made no mention of them, their founder, or their religion. Come on now. That's a mouthful. Right there.
And it's not complicated in what they're saying.
At all.
That's simple. They're saying that the actual, I'm going to say it again, the actual writers during this time of Jesus never wrote anything about an historical Jesus, which means they never wrote about an actual man that lived, that performed these miracles, named Jesus, during that time period.
like they will write about Marcus Garvey, like they will write about Sharif Abdul Ali, affectionately known as Noble Drew Ali, and like they will write about Il Malik, Shabazz, Malcolm X. You see why we naming these names? Like they will write about Nat Turner,
Michael Jackson.
come on now, Prince, etc. Let's go in. Because somebody, that's what we're saying, family. They writing about them because they actually existed. That's why it's easy to write about these people that we just, you see, name, and you can document their work. Each person we just named, each human being that we just named.
And there's little to no contradiction about it.
Little to no. And on top of that, we could substitute these names that we just named for Jesus. Because these individuals that we just named had the same power.
Same energy.
Same exact energy over people, the quote unquote world, the planet. Huh? That's how we say, get right, church, and let's go home to the truth.
Let's go. Let's go. Philo was one of the writers.
One of them.
We turn the page, it's another writer, a Jewish historian, Flavius Josephus. What did he say?
The most famous Jewish historian. Let's be sure we put that in there. Let's see what he said, brother. Read.
Flavius Josephus. I'm going to skip down and say Josephus himself was appointed to Galilee during the Jewish wars and was in Rome at the same time. Paul was supposed to have been there, incurring the wrath of authorities upon him and his communities of Christians. Y'all remember Paul and his wrath, and supposedly in the Bible? Well, he was there during that time. Yet, in the entire works of Josephus, which constitute many volumes of great detail encompassing centuries of history, there is no mention of Paul or the Christians, and there are only 2 brief paragraphs that purport to reference to Jesus. Although much has been made of these references, they have been dismissed by scholars and Christian apologists alike as forgeries, as have been those referring to John the Baptist and James, the brother of Jesus,
quote unquote. Now that's coming from the book of Flavius Josephus,
the most famous
Jewish historian.
Had wrote volumes upon volumes of books, and he only half-assed mentioned Jesus twice in volumes upon volumes, man. These are thousands upon thousands of writings. How is that even possible? Oh, if this man was actually a real being, human being, in flesh.
Come on. Thank you. Don't gloss over the fact. It's very important. I heard somebody say, what is it? Well, okay, what good does it do? Because you get your mind right. That's why this is important. Etymology. Let's take these words back to their mama. That's what etymology means. Take these words back to their inception, where they come from, where they was birthed, so we can know what the hell they mean. Period.
That's Josephus, who was, like they say, silent on the subject of Christ and Christianity. Who was the next writer during that time? Pliny?
Probably Pliny. Probably that's how they're going to pronounce it.
The Younger. Now you can always Google these people or go find them in some type of
absolutely.
Of work just to
Easily.
check us in case you think we just reading, making this up.
Easily. Somebody out there know who Josephus is too.
Facts.
Pliny the Younger.
One of the pitifully few references held up by Christians as evidence of Jesus' existence is the letter to Trajan, supposedly written by the Roman historian Pliny the Younger. However, in this letter there is but one word that is applicable: Christians.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. And that has been demonstrated to be spurious, as is also suspected of the entire document. It has been suggested on the basis of Pliny's reportage of the Essenes, I said it right,
The Essenes,
that if the letter is genuine, the original word was Essenes, which was later changed to Christians in one of many revisions of their works of ancient authorities by Christian forgers. They're saying that the later people that identified themselves as Christians, they really were guilty of forgeries, of forgering these writings that existed before their time to the liking, so that the whole concept of Christianity could be made to be made as a reality or a truth.
a form of plagiarism.
That's exactly what it is. Changing of the words to fit their own narrative and own agenda.
Yes, sir. Goes back centuries, family. We got to know that. That's Sankofa. You remember we used that word on this platform before, Sankofa. That means we going back to where it originates so we can find out where we're going. Like for real. Because if you don't do that, you ain't going to know where you're going. Or, well, yeah, you ain't going to know where you're going because you're going to be a puppet. Being led by the enemy. Period. Sankofa is taking it back to, oh, so the whole Christian theme was plagiarized. Yes. The Essenes, I believe that's how we're going to say that, brother. Capital E, S-S-E-N-E-S. Essenes. You see? Was known to be the original God body. Let's say that. Or the original school of thought for what we know to be Christianity. But it wasn't presented in a forgery type form, a plagiarized trickery type form. You see? It was authentic. You see? Relating to the sun, moon, stars, etc. As above, so below. You see, somewhere along the way, when the forgery went on, Christianity put their own brand on it, especially on this landmass in the wilderness of North America. They put their own brand on it and personalized energies, like gave the sun a personality through a person, gave the moon, you see, the stars and the planets, etc. That's what Christianity did. It took astrology and demonized it, if you will, and astronomy and the true study of man. You see? That's what happened here. Way back, family, that's what we got to see. It was being formed way back centuries ago. And of course, we're talking about fast forward on up to the Nicene Council, etc. But we'll get there. You know what I mean? We'll get there. This is what is this, show 2. We got a couple of shows to get in here before we, you know what I mean, really just reveal, if you will, who Jesus really is. Huh?
Another author,
All right.
that was writing, you know what I'm saying, during this time was Suetonius.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now, Christian defenders also like to hold up as evidence of their God-man the minuscule and possibly interpolated passage from the Roman historian Suetonius, referring to someone named Crestus or Christos at Rome. Obviously, Christ was not alleged to have been at Rome, so this passage is not applicable to him. Furthermore, while some have speculated that there was a Roman man of that name at the time, the title Crestus or Christos, meaning good and useful, was frequently held by freed slaves, among others, including various gods. So now we have another author who used the term Crestus or Christos, which you can hear the Christ in it. What's the word? Not the pre-word. I can't think of what it's called.
Prefix.
You can hear that Christ prefix in Christos or Christos. So they're saying that they're trying to say that Suetonius wrote about Jesus Christ in his writings by referring to that, and that was in Rome.
Right.
But as they say, Jesus never was in Rome, so this title of Christus or name could not have been referring to him in actuality. That title, Christus or Christos, it merely meant good and useful, and they gave this title to, like they say, freed slaves or various other gods. So that's another writer, you know what I'm saying, that we can mark off the list of writing about Jesus during the time of Jesus. So we got 3 writers already that we done X'd out.
And it's important to know, family, that we reading, this is the common, what you call the CE common era, before Christ. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, way before, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? We got to know that. To see the breadcrumbs, and see what's going on here. Because Christos is spelled with a CH, anciently. CHRESTUS. Or CHRESTOS, like the good brother say, meaning good and useful. And we got to know that title, that's what that is. Christ is a title, not a person.
Check this out.
It carries energy.
It has always been
Page 52.
it has always been unfailing source. It has always been an unfailing source of astonishment to the historical investigator of Christian beginnings that there is not a single word from a pen of any pagan writer of the first century of our era which can in any fashion be referred to the marvelous story recounted by the gospel writer. The very existence of Jesus seems unknown. The writers of this first century, from 0 to 100 years.
Come on.
Now, you know, 0 is AD. So from after the death of Jesus, the first 100 years, none of the writers wrote about Jesus. How? How is that even possible?
Come on now. You know what I mean? How is that even possible? Because we know this character, this allegorical character, to be the main thing, right? You see? So how would he just go unnoticed as it relates to history? Yeah, because we're talking about a historical part of this thing. You know what I'm saying? As it relates to humanity. You know what I mean? We got to know that if we're saying that this character and the rest of these allegorical characters were actually human beings, yeah, we got to have some type of historical artifacts, and books would be one. Scripts. We got the temple walls and all that. Ain't nobody, man. Listen, come on now. You won't find the historical part of this character. Only place you'll find it is within yourself. Come on now.
Family, I don't know, a lot of times when we in the church or growing up in the church, even with life in general, we don't know the difference in European people. All we know is white people.
That's right.
And then even when it comes to religion, we don't really know the difference between, Christian, Jews,
Catholic, Presbyterian.
we don't really know the difference
Seventh-day
because we only
Adventist.
know what we know.
Right.
But now we're going to go into some Jewish references or Talmudic. Talmudic.
Yes.
And if you know the Talmud
This is the Torah.
is what the Jews consider their sacred tome.
Right. Like the original quote unquote historical book or religious text. Talmudic or Jewish references. That's where we at on page 52. That's where we at.
Yes, sir.
Come on with it.
One might think that there would at least be reference to the historical Jesus in the text of the Jews,
You would think.
who were known for record keeping. Yet such is not the case, despite all the frantic pointing to the references to Jesus ben Pendera, who purportedly lived during the 1st century BCE, or other Jesuses mentioned in Jewish literature. Unfortunately, these characters do not fit either story of the purported timeline of the gospel Jesus, no matter how the facts and numbers are fudged. The story of Jesus Pendera, and I remember when I was coming into this information that I ran into all these different Jesus characters or different versions of Jesus that could have been the Jesus. And I remember Jesus ben Pendera was one of them.
Gotcha.
And if you don't know, the story of Jesus ben Pendera, for example, related a century before the Christian era. He was a magician named Jesus who came out of Egypt.
There we go.
We're going to be all off on Egypt
There we
throughout
go.
this whole
The home plate.
reading of this book.
The whole plate. That's the home plate.
And he was put to death by stoning or hanging. However, ritualistic or judicial executions of this manner were common, as the name Jesus and the magicians flooding out of Egypt.
The magicians
Come on now.
flooding out of Egypt. What's important right there as well, family, we need to document the fact that I heard my spiritual auntie say this, Joy DeGraw. Caucasians, they keep records. They keep real good records. I'd have heard a number of my
Facts.
ancestors say that. You know
Facts.
what I mean? They from John Henry Clark to, you know what I mean, a number of them, my ancestors say that Europeans, they good at keeping notes and writing, etc., and keeping the texts and the tab on what the business is. And I thought about that when it said that at the top of that, one might think that there would at least be reference to the quote-unquote historical Jesus in the text, plural, of the Jews who were known for record keeping. You see? That's important. Again, that's the main thing with this, to know that these people, they keep records because, again, they taking notes from the gods. You see? Because the gods got it in a DNA code that was oracle for centuries. It was just passed down oracally.
And when we started to come into a phase where we were forgetting, or we were losing our grip or our power, we went to the wall with it.
Come on.
We went to the hieroglyphics.
Come on.
Just to leave it to show y'all, remember who you are.
Come on. And
It's
later,
not them. This is us on the wall.
yeah, come on. And later came the papyrus, the paper. You see? But we got to know that. And again, when we're tracing this character that has been taught or presented to us, let's say that, as a paleface of European, Caucasian descent, it's important that we trace the origins, you see? Because, again, we're finding that people historically didn't even leave a record of the character. That came way later as it relates to humanity. So we got to know why it came way later as it relates to humanity and what was the big secret. Why is it that we couldn't be taught organically in these denominational chambers that my good brother's talking about, in the Baptist and the Kojic and the Pentecostal, you see, in the chambers that we were in? You see, why the organic teachings couldn't be taught? See, we got to know that. You see? And again, we already knowing that it was one form with one version of a book pushed on people for 400 years. Huh? We got to know why that is so, family, so we can liberate. Okay? The story of Jesus being, you had somewhere to go over there?
Go
on
ahead.
53?
Go ahead with it.
I was just wanting to go into the fact that they call it, they're relating magician and Jesus with the same
Hey
title.
man, shit, if you take 2 loaves of bread or a loaf of bread and 2 fish and feed 5,000, that looks like magic to me.
Okay, got you.
Shit,
Got you. Walking on water.
that look like a magic trick to me.
Got you. Walking on water. Making the storm be still. Got you.
Look like a hell of a magician to me.
Made a lame man walk, assisted a lame man in walking, he couldn't walk. Blind to see.
If I see that water that's inside of your jar turn into some wine, I'm gonna tell everybody that this man is a magician.
Got you. Check.
So where they? That's where they got that from.
Check. Check. The story of Jesus ben Pandera, for example, and the word corona is in this book too. Because you know corona is the sun.
Is the sun.
Come on now.
Now,
Come on now.
what is going on with the sun in the sky that they're calling that a virus?
Come on. Come on.
Who is the virus really going to attack then? Because we are the people of the sun.
The sun kissed children.
So if they telling you
That need a lot of it.
stay in the house.
And be deprived of it, what happens? Depression set in.
If they say go left, I'm going right. They telling us in code, or they talking in code.
Yeah. I just had to hit you with that real quick. The word corona. Uh-oh. Watch out, family. The word corona.
Have you not heard coronal mass injections or
It's in this
ejections, or whatever they call them, that emanate from the sun?
Come on now. That's something, that's deep. Let us continue. The story of Jesus ben Pandera, for example, related that a century before the Christian era, a century, that's 100 years before the Christian era, a magician named Jesus came out of Egypt and was put to death by stoning or hanging. However, ritualistic or judicial executions, judicial executions, watch out now, how you holding? Of this manner were common, as were the name Jesus and the magicians flooded out of Egypt.
Was common.
In addition, there is in this story no mention of Romans among other oversights. Because remember the Romans, huh? Ain't that the name of the people that killed, that crucified Jesus? Huh? So if the Romans ain't knowing him, how they gonna crucify him? Huh? In addition, there is in this story no mention of Romans among other oversights. Even if Ben Pandera were real, it is definitely not his story being told in the New Testament.
So this,
I read books.
this Jewish figure or personage of, you can find in the Talmud or even in the times of Rome that they said was, his name was Jesus. He did magic tricks like some of what Jesus, he was a magician. This is not the same one that they're talking about in the New Testament. It's not the same person.
We got to know that. It's plagiarized, it's borrowed, and we got to know who it's borrowed from, so that's where we get our power. That's the whole key.
Let's just go along while Massey explains when we say Massey. Gerald Massey.
Page 53.
I think all of us should go look up Gerald Massey on Amazon and get you some of his books because, again, like we said, he was one of the scholars that they classify as persona non grata. His information was so right and exact and against the
wicked agenda
that they don't even bring his name up as a historian because he goes against the agenda. Go get some of his books. He states this about the Pandera theory. It has generally been allowed that the existence of a Jehoshua, the son of Pandera, because you know, Ben, B-E-N, means son of. So they're saying Jesus ben Pandera or Jehoshua ben Pandera, Jesus son of Pandera. Acknowledged by the Talmud, proves the personal existence of Jesus the Christ as a historical character in the Gospels. But a closer examination of the data shows the theory to be totally untenable. Jehoshua ben Pandera must have been born considerably earlier than the year 102 BC. The Jewish writers altogether denied the identity of the Talmudic Jehoshua and the Jesus of the Gospels. The Jews know nothing of Jesus as the Christ of the Gospels.
Come on now. Come on, it's not adding up, see? You got to make it add up, family. That's all we're saying.
Make it make sense. This is not making sense, family.
Got to make it add up.
You tripped over? Go ahead.
Page 54?
Yes, sir.
To reiterate, the forged New Testament booklets and the foolish writings of the fathers are the sole evidence we have for the alleged facts and doctrines of our most holy faith. As it is said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, yet no proof of any kind of the historicity of Jesus has ever existed or is forthcoming.
I'm going to read that again. That was so heavy. Listen what he just read, fam. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, yet no proof of any kind for the, what's that word you said?
Historicity
of Jesus has ever existed or is forthcoming. This is not us speaking this, family. We're not saying this to make you mad. We're not trying to downplay who you consider your Savior, your Lord. We're not trying to downplay. We're just reading what the writers wrote 2,000 years before we got here. This is the conversations they were having. We, at this present time, might be the first people to come and question the existence of Jesus. However, as we are reading and seeing right now, these questions that we are presenting, these doubts that we have always been there. These people are 2,000 years ago saying this is some bullshit. This is some extraordinary shit that y'all can't even prove now. We're 2,000 years later with the same information asking you how, what, when, and where did this man come from.
Come on now.
I want to state this too. because we're reading this book right now. I really appreciate y'all, everybody's just on a listening ear. Because a lot of people right now, y'all don't read. You say, I listen to the audio book. Well, this is an audio book breakdown.
Come on now.
You don't have to read it, you have to listen to this. We're reading it and breaking it down at the same damn time.
Come on now.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
What's this? Boy?
I'm talking about. Ooh, yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Moving right along on this conspiracy thing.
Man, come on.
Straight up, because it's a conspiracy. We got to know that.
And it's also further evidence of a fraud. That's the next. That's the title of the next chapter.
The very next.
Further evidence of a fraud.
I see you, boo.
I'm gonna read the first sentence, brother.
Come on with it.
There is basically no textual
textual
evidence of the existence of Jesus
Jesus
Christ, other than the forged biblical books and epistles.
Come on now. That's heavy right there. Bar. Let that breathe. Bars. Let that breathe.
You see, I have to underline. That's it. That right there should wake you. Boop, hit you inside the head.
There is basically no textual evidence of the existence of Jesus Christ other than forged biblical books and epistles. Let that breathe. Because that's a factamento that we have to get in our spirit so we can again separate the bullshit, you see, from the real. That's important. Get that out the way.
And this is a concept that I'm about to read now that we're going to continuously get off into in this reading is this.
Come on now.
It was not only the dissenters and pagans who apprehended the truth, as the Christians themselves continuously disclosed that they knew the story and religion of Jesus Christ were not the original, but were founded upon more ancient myths and ideologies throughout the known world. So they're saying, even some of the Christians back then who called themselves Christians, they knew that the stories they were spilling and preaching and teaching were already ancient. They were remixing these things.
Come on now.
So you don't believe now that some of the preachers and the ministers and the reverends, you don't think they know
By now?
what we are saying has to be true? Not all of them.
Not all of them, no.
But some of these
far from all.
holy men that sit behind pulpits and preach this gospel know it to be a forgery, know it to be a remix of an ancient myth. Yet they do it anyway.
Shout out to Bishop Carlton Pearson on that lick right there.
I heard him. I've heard him. It said, you know, hey man.
Bishop Carlton Pearson, he out the Church of God in Christ as well. All this stuff is intertwined, man. You know what I mean? All praise be to Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
Come on.
Did we go into Eubius earlier? I believe you spoke on Eubius.
Just a little bit. Oh, Eusebius.
Eusebius, my fault. This is what he said right
Uh-oh. Hey, let's say this real quick though. Right after you said that Jesus Christ were not, the Christians themselves continuously disclose that they knew the story and religion of Jesus Christ were not original, but were founded upon more ancient myths and ideologies throughout the known world. For example, the eminent church doctor Augustine readily confessed that Christianity was a rehash of what already existed long prior to the Christian era. That's all I want to say.
I gotta keep going, brother. That which is known as the Christian religion existed among the ancients.
Okay.
And never did not exist.
Gotcha.
From the beginning of the human race until the time when Christ came in the flesh.
Okay.
At which time the true religion, which already existed, began to be called
Christianity.
That man just said who was a church doctor.
Church doctor.
He said
Augustine.
that this shit already existed way before it was called Christianity. And it wasn't called Christianity until the time when he was alive.
Come on now.
They just began to call it that. They saying, what did they call, what was the thing people used to write with? That you dip the ink in, whatever they call them things. That's just like saying, y'all, a feather with a pen on. They used to write with a feather.
Yeah, that's right. With a feather.
That's just like saying,
the tip of the feather.
that's just like saying,
exactly what
if this is a feather
Yes.
and people wrote with it, this is an ink pen.
Yes.
That's like us saying we invented the writing utensil. That's what that's how you can consider what them saying about this religion thing was. It already was what it was. But when we got our hands on it, we say we invented this.
Come on now.
People wasn't right. It wasn't no such thing until we started doing it. That's what the Christians did with the religion. They monopolized it and said it was all them.
Come on.
Didn't happen before them.
Come on now. In addition, in the face of criticism that Christianity was fabricated, Eusebius sought to demonstrate it was not novel or strange by claiming it was based on older ideas. See, that's the main key here. We got to get that in our spirit as well. Says he, although we certainly are this is Eusebius talking, although we certainly are a youthful people, and this undeniably new name of Christians has only lately become known among all nations, nevertheless, our life and mode of conduct, together with our religious principles, have not been recently invented by us, but from almost the beginnings of man were built on the natural concepts of those whom God loved in the distant past. Natural concepts, family. You remember we said that the sun was personified. They gave the sun a name, the S-U-N. Christianity. And demonized astrology and astronomy. That's what the God is saying right there. When he say natural were built, the beginnings of man were built on the natural concepts of those whom God loved in the distant past. You don't get to monopolize. The sun. You as you can see, it's been done, but I'm saying you don't get away with it because you have a movement of people throughout centuries that was questioning it. These are some of the writers right here. So pointing like, no. Like the good brother saying, like, man, listen, we've been writing with ink. Y'all calling it an ink pen. We was calling it a feather. Using the tip of a feather, and we produced the ink in the same scenario. You don't get to do that. You see? Not again forever. Because you got the babies that's seeing. You see, they got their eyes wide open. And that pineal gland is, you see, working in an uncalcified state. That's what's going on. And the gods is waking up to who they really are and getting it like they're supposed to be getting it. That's the whole key to these lessons.
Check.
Eusebius thus admitted not only that Christianity was built upon earlier ideologies, but also that the name, quote unquote, Christian, was still undeniably new by his time, 300 years after the purported beginning of the Christian era. In spite of the New Testament tales that the gospel had been preached to all the nations, quote unquote, and that a vast church network has sprung up during the first century.
Just telling you that, yeah, man, all this, man, listen.
Fabricated.
A fraud.
Further evidence of a fraud. That's the name of this chapter.
Man, do we really have to go in any more of
You
that?
know, I'm just saying the same
You know what I'm
thing.
saying?
Because it later goes into, family, good. It would be good for you to pick this book up. You know what I mean? It goes into the different schools of thought. The Gnosticism.
That's something that I relate to.
You see what I'm saying? the Ignatis. You know what I mean? It goes on to Marcion of Pontus. It just got the pagans. You see what I'm saying? It breaks it down. It goes into the different schools of thought as it relates to giving us further evidence of a fraud. And when you go into these different schools of thought, you will find that, oh, okay, we talking about the same power, you know what I mean, that's available to humanity. And it's not denominational, and it's not based on your organization or the group that you belong to, etc. After you go into these different schools of thought. Because the pagans, would be one. Oregon, Nero, you'll hear these different words, you see what I'm saying?
And it's some great books on Gnosticism. Y'all know Gnosticism with the G. That's how Gnostic, Gnostic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's something that I think it will be beneficial for you to look up, because it shows you groups of quote unquote people that messed with Jesus, but they didn't see him in the same light as the Christians did. You didn't say that when I was stepped out.
No.
So
that's it.
But even in some of Jesus's writings in the quote unquote New Testament, you can hear a Gnostic theme inside of it. And if you don't know what Gnostic means, it simply means to know. And like I say, a one who knows. And he spoke in some of those terms inside the New Testament. That's all I wanted to bring up. You know what I'm saying? But Gnosticism is deep too, because the gods inside of Christianity or of the world in Gnosticism are like the demiurge.
Yeah.
Or Idaldabar. These are some of the gods who they would say that are jealous gods. These things of a jealous God, this comes from Gnosticism. Mm-hmm. And these gods, they say, are not the most high God, but these are lesser gods. So the gods that we think that we are serving, these are not the most high God. These are just components or like I said, nothing more than lesser gods. It's kind of like saying you worship Jesus.
Come on.
Well, why would you worship Jesus if he is more of your brother
Come on.
than the God that, quote unquote, that is the Father, quote unquote, that sent him?
Come on.
Why would you stop at Jesus?
Come on.
Because they forget Jesus is pointing somewhere.
Come on.
We focus on him instead of where he pointing to. That's all I'm saying.
Come on. Selling yourself short. See?
That's all I'm saying.
Let's go to physical evidence.
Let's get it.
Ooh, we got physical evidence, man. Listen, physical evidence, family, we already know we talking about physical evidence that's obvious. We searching for, like we just named earlier, Marcus Garvey. We know we can touch him as it relates to his movement, his children, his offspring. You see what I'm saying? Drew Ali. You see what I'm saying? Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, etc. Nat Turner, all of these, what did you say? Michael Jackson, Prince, etc. All of these leaders,
Even in that
freedom fighters,
even in the physical evidence aspect of it, we can start with Marcus Garvey. Not only the man,
yes,
he had the black ship line.
Come on.
These are physical. You can't
Tangible.
even talk about
Tangible.
Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
It's mosque that was set up under his teachings all over the United States and Mexico and England and beyond.
Come on.
So these are the type of physical things that we're talking about.
So that means that there's no guessing, right?
Right.
There's no wondering if they did exist.
And you might say, well, this church is set up all around here. That's evidence of Jesus. No, stop.
No, stop it. Yeah, 'cause that is not.
We're not doing that.
That's evidence of the wicked agenda. Now again, I said the disclaimer on our first episode of the Christ Conspiracy series here. So I'm not going back to no more disclaimers.
Right.
The church, as we know it, is part of the wicked agenda that was set up behind the plagiarism as it relates to this allegorical character. Okay?
Check. Let me go off into this because we spoke about this before the camera got on.
Yes.
Jesus' physical appearance.
Uh-huh.
There is no physical description of Jesus in the New Testament other than which resembles the Son, such as at his transfiguration at Matthew 17, verse 2. He was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his garments became white as light. A fitting description for the light of the world that every eye can see. The androgynous character at Revelation 1, 13 through 15 has also been interpreted to refer to Jesus. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, cloth and garment down to the foot, and girt about his paps or wrist. His head were white as wool. His head white as wool, white as snow. Now, this is the part I want to get to right here.
Come on.
A number of people have claimed that the woolly hair reference means Christ was a black man. And they cite black crucifixes and bambinos as evidence. As can be seen, the scriptural evidence of Jesus' physical creates more problems than it solves. Now, I will say that it is, if you're going to have a figure that you serve, at least he should look like you.
Say it. Don't that make logical sense?
The majority of us all grew up around or inside of a church. The Bible that we had, we didn't see any black characters in that book.
Never.
All of these holy characters, holy figures resembled us not. They look like us, man.
No.
So even though it's a good thing to say, hey man, Jesus' physical attributes are representative of a black man, the skin, his hair, that still does not equate to him actually existing. As we can see, it doesn't matter what color he is if he didn't exist. So for purposes of symbolism and you know, black power and cultural advancement, yeah, paint him black.
Yeah.
At least. But that don't mean he was real, bro.
Come on.
That's all I want to say.
And don't get caught up again in that whole concept of trying to personify him. Because you are Jesus. You are the representation of Jesus, Heru, you see, etc.
You know what?
Muhammad.
Because
etc.
we should see Jesus as black, but guess what? They say Jesus went to the Japanese have, let me just read it to you. This is page 82. Japan lays claim to the tombs of both Moses and Jesus. The villagers of Shango.
I am Shango.
We ain't gonna get there right now, but just this guy, listen, man, put this piece of the puzzle together.
I am Shango.
Insist that Jesus and his brother were buried there. It's in Japan now. And they have the graves to prove it, as do the Indians and Tibetans with their nations. The Shingoese assert that Jesus was educated by religious masters in Japan during the lost years. The Japanese tale goes further than the Indian and maintains that after escaping crucifixion, when his brother was mistakenly executed in his place, Jesus fled with the remains of his brother and with followers to Shingo, where he married a Japanese woman, fathered 3 daughters, and lived to be 106.
That's Shango. Aha, they slick, ain't you? I am Shango.
I was reading that just to say how every nation or ethnicity of people see Jesus as one of their own, as we should. But we're saying, not only should we see Jesus as one of our own, we should see Jesus, the Christ, or the Christ as something that's inside of all of us, or a level of attainment that we all strive to reach. That's the basis of the teachings of Christ that have been perverted.
Yes. fashion of taking your power away, family, and giving it up. That's the key here. To, again, egoic titles, organizations, groups, etc. You know what I mean? And that's what it was, let's say, on this landmass, that's what it was designed to do, to start to, you know what I mean? They ain't going to heaven. We is. That whole feud. You see? You know what I mean? Good versus evil whole thing. And it's important to do this as well, family, to get into that, I would say, if you really, you know, are digging in that rabbit hole like we are, trying to see how far the rabbit hole goes, red pill, pick up that Aquarian gospel. Because that Aquarian gospel is giving the lost, quote unquote, the lost years of this character Jesus. And I thought about that when you went into the reading about Japan. Come on now. You see, because we got to know that the Aquarian gospel is giving again the lost years, quote unquote, of this character. And when you delve into it, I'm telling you ahead of time. You see what I'm saying? You'll find yourself in the lesson.
If you delve into the Aquarian Gospels, I urge you to delve off into the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of Science. Moorish Holy Temple of Science. This will take you right down the pathway of those lost years about Jesus, man, and decoding some of the same things. That's in the book that will touch your spirit and awaken you to all types of lessons and masonry that deals with what's going on right now. Right now. Right here and right now. This is what I also want to say as we're thinking about this character Jesus and physical representations of him, because we have him known as the Lamb of God.
Come on.
And as we know, it says right here, what did it say? Furthermore, the Christian crucifix originally held the image of a lamb instead of a man. So the original crucifix was not of a man. It was of a lamb. And we all know the Lamb of God, the Lamb of Christ, or whatever that they say.
It was a lamb in the age of Aries, you see, at that time.
Also, we know him to be a lamb. What other animal do they reference Jesus as? Anybody? A fish. We've all seen the on the back of the car, there's the symbol of the fish, which is a symbol of Christ, which is actually the Vesica Pisces.
Come on.
You know what that really is a symbol of? The vagina.
Come on. Them two neighbors, Aries and Pisces.
Come on now.
Come on. Follow the breadcrumbs.
The fish is in fact representative of the astrological age of Pisces.
Come on
like
now.
you just said, symbolized by the two fishes.
Come on now. We gotta know that.
Now, go ahead, brother.
That's what the fish, I'm just saying what you said. The fish is in fact representative of the astrological age of Pisces. We got to know that. Symbolized by the two fishes, which is a water sign. Come on. See? And you remember, at that time, at that age, we were moving on the water. You see? And this message, or this, let's say this perverted form of Christianity got to this landmass, we got to know that, on water, by ship. We got to put this thing into perspective. Look out, my baby say, I'm a Pisces.
I was reading earlier about,
now you know, girl,
inside of my early readings and understanding that I ran across this character, the Jesus Ben Pendera. Was one of the characters that I was like, wait a minute, is this the real Jesus? As I began to search more, I ran into this cat named Serapis.
Okay. Walk with me.
Where we get the actual image that we see that has been ingrained in our mind. I don't give a damn if you did grow up with an image of a black Jesus. When you close up, when it both up say Jesus, you think of that blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. And that image held today of a white man with long dark hair and a beard is also that of Serapis, the syncretic god of the Egyptian state religion in the 3rd century BCE, who was, by the 4th century CE, the most highly respected god in Egypt. Serapis was in fact considered to be a peculiar god of the Christians. Now I think Serapis, that lesson and how he came about to be adopted by the Egyptians is for a later time, but
Right.
that's another story in itself, man.
Yeah. To where we pick up on this whole thing, this whole Christian thing. See, inside of physical evidence, we have coins. Coins is a section in here, because we know in time immemorial, as it relates to currency, family, the coinage that was exchanged through the nation of people, it was always going to be some type of figurehead on that coin. And in this section is just going into letting us know, like, there's no coins in ancient history with the Jesus face on it.
During the times in Rome when he existed, the Romans, leaders or emperors, whatever you call them, they were on the coins. But you don't believe, and even to this very day right now, Abraham Lincoln,
Come on now.
all of these presidents,
And Ben Franklin is not a
not even
president.
the president.
He slipped in on there. See, we got to think.
The dollars or the coins or money were the actual people during that time period.
Come on.
And we don't believe that Jesus would have been on a coin if indeed centuries after
Come on.
he was actually, you know what I'm saying, they started to big up him. You know that nobody would have put him on a coin? No, they
Come on.
didn't.
Come on. That's important.
Then we can go on to the tombs, the caves, or these
That's it here.
quote unquote sacred places where we should be able to go and find some type of trace, because we know we got coins, we have pottery, we have monuments that are thousands of years old, yet we don't have one actual tomb, we don't have one actual bone, we don't have one actual physical fragment of proof to without a shadow of a doubt prove that this man was in actuality a real man. We don't have it.
And since he, you know what I mean, since you saying he coming out of Egypt, that body would be preserved, huh?
Right.
Like King Tut, now.
Right. I just seen on the news, they just opened a tomb that has been closed for 2,000 years yesterday.
Oh wow.
Yes. And one thing I did notice, man, he had a big ass nose. It was like a tomb, it was like a sarcophagus inside of the tomb. So inside of the sarcophagus obviously is maybe the figure of the actual remains.
Mhm.
But on the outside, man, his nose big just like mine, man. Big old nose like yours, man.
Really?
It's like it was painted on where they paint on the walls. That's what you see on there, man. I know they was like, fuck! We can't find ourselves anywhere
At all. It's not fair. She Williker's Batman. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen. It is what it is, though. And of course, we got to gain what we're supposed to gain from it so we can get God's body up in the mix and stop living like a slave. Huh? Collectively. As many of us as possible. That's the main theme here. Again, going back to all of these lessons, the most important thing is to heal thyself. Let's reverse that. Know thyself. Got to know thyself first to be able to heal thyself. You understand? Because to know thyself, you have the discernment. You see, to realize that there's some issues that need to be fixed, and then you go in and heal those issues, and then boom, now you see you're dealing in a holistic fashion and approaching life in a holistic way versus 3/5 of a person.
There you go.
You whole. You've tapped in on your birthright. You see, because again, these characters, especially the Jesus character, is here to teach humanity how to live. But you can't take it literal. You have to be able to have the discernment. Again, that comes through healing. You have to heal. So you'll know that you're not that denomination that you say you see. You're not that church. Now, you'll give your power up to we Southern Baptist, whatever. We Southern Church of God in Christ. Yeah, we Church of God in Christ. We Baptist. You see, you giving up your power. You see, that was organically created for you to benefit off of as it relates to generational wealth. That's the key here. And be able to pass that generational wealth down through generations behind you. You see? As it relates to as above, so below. Meaning you're spiritually equipped, and that allows you to be God body in the physical, to where you're doing on the physical what you need to be doing, and it's affecting the incoming generation in a positive fashion for the betterment of our people and our society as a whole. Because when you clean up, this is what we got to know, family, when you clean up self, that takes the weight off of the shoulders of humanity as it relates to ignorance. When you save yourself, that lightens up the load for humanity. Now, if I'm saving myself, and then my queen in behind me, we got babies together, and then they behind us, then they have babies, and then they behind. You see how that works? That's the whole purpose. For my son, again, not to be making the same foolish decisions or degenerate choices that I made. You see? My queen, she healed, clean up, then our daughters, you see? They won't repeat. That's the whole purpose here. You see? Gotta clean up what we messed up.
Come on now.
Start our life over again.
Man, bless me with song.
Gotta clean up.
Hey.
What we messed up. We was talking about that earlier.
Yes,
Clean it up.
Yes,
Starting our life over again. Making it look better.
Push the reset button.
Come on. Making it look better. Reset. Brother Isaac Curry. Yeah, he did that. Reset. It's a lifestyle. You see? It's a lifestyle. We gotta know that. You know what I mean? Again, as we said, as above, so below. You're passing the next generation a lifestyle. Whether you are aware of it or not, that's a whole nother conversation. But that's what we're here for. To shed light on, man, know thyself. You see? Health is wealth. Man, heal thyself, etc. Use these tools that was put before us in our advantage. Use it to our advantage. That's the whole purpose here. Not, you see what I'm saying? Again, recycling degenerate behavior. Because in degenerate behavior, there's this thing called poverty. And we trying to get as far away from that as possible. You see? We talking about house on the hill. Acreage. Farmland. Not begging, doing for self. That's going to take work. It takes some healing. Because you got to see who you really are. You got to see yourself for who you really are. That's what these whole lessons is about, you see? And that's what it is. We coming, you know what I mean? As we can see, we coming down to a close here in the press box. Walk with me. And y'all do that thing. The Press Box YouTube channel. Go there.
Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button.
Hit that one first.
You'll see the logo.
You see? Like, comment, and share.